Yeah, we're gonna go fancy on this. I'm gonna test out the new YouTube podcast feature.
Alrighty then.
We're gonna get video on this.
Let it ride. We're doing video. Okay.
We're doing video.
I will take it.
I also think we should go. What was the name? We want to go with the Fishbowl, the movie Fishbowl. I think we should go with that. I think we should go with that.
Okay.
I think it's the movie Fishbowl with Jay and Fish.
The movie Fishbowl.
The movie Fishbowl. Hi everybody. Welcome back. It's been a while since the last time we talked about movies. At least recording it so other people can listen to it.
I have no idea what you're talking about. I weren't we just talking about Rope the other day?
Rope? Yeah, no. Was that the last one we did?
It may have been.
I think it was. Hey everyone, if you don't know, I'm Fish.
I'm Jay.
And welcome to the movie Fishbowl with Jay and Fish. We're talking about movies and shit. Like old school.
Because why not? Yeah.
And this time, and this time we're in video. We're in 1080p.
So you can see every pore on my face.
You can see all my gray hairs that look. Yeah. I mean, this makes it looks like I have way more gray hairs than I actually do because this lighting.
That's why 1080p was created, though. It wasn't to make people look better. It was to level the playing field.
Level the playing field, and 4K just makes everyone look bad.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
That's the next podcast. We'll upgrade to 4K.
Yeah, because we're hoping we'll see if we'll have time to do this more often again. Since our last episode, our lives have gone crazy. Families growing and just new jobs for both of us.
No idea what you're talking about. Nothing's changed. The exact same situation.
I think I was still in QA though on the last episode we did.
So, well, let's get into it. People don't want to hear about our personal lives. The massive amount of listeners we have came here to hear our opinions, thoughts, diatribes, and more on movies.
The biggest hit movie right now in theaters. Obviously, we're talking
biggest.
No, we're talking about the biggest movie. The 2023 version of the Haunted Mansion. Let's get right into it. Jay, what did you think of the new Haunted Mansion? It's back.
I think the only way to really compare... No, I obviously have not seen that yet.
No.
It's made, $23 million opening weekend, so can't say that most people have. But
because logically, you release a horror-themed film in August when no one expects it.
And yet, Insidious Chapter 6, The Red Door did all right.
It did all right, but didn't do all right for Insidious, I don't believe.
No, but it was also, horror franchises, I don't imagine the new Saw is going to do that well either, and that'll be released around Halloween. The issue with horror franchises is that the theme of horror is to keep you surprised and on edge, and it's like there's only so many movies that can do that over and over again.
That is true.
Purge started to lose it towards the end. There's, even the whole Conjuring thing. Like, they have to keep changing it. They're doing The Nun, and they do this, and they do that, and it's not all the exact same. Going back into the house again. Like, you gotta find ways to keep it fresh if you're horror.
That's true. Although today we are talking about what I consider to be the scariest horror movie of all time. We are talking today about Oppenheimer. Both myself and Jay saw Oppenheimer, and I needed to talk about this film with someone who knows a lot about movies as much as you do, Jay.
Thank you. I'm excited. I'm sometimes before we do this, you and I connect. And we'll go over notes and we'll discuss thoughts briefly to get. And I purposely didn't want to do it for this one because I wanted to get your opinion fresh, and I wanted to see exactly where you came without any preconceived thoughts or anything. I want the honest reaction, and then I'll give you mine, and we'll break it down.
I'm excited. I'm interested because I'm actually intrigued if you actually like it as much as I do. Because I honestly think it's Nolan's best work.
I'll disagree with you on that, but not by much.
Okay. I actually almost wanted to do we might save this for another episode, a bonus episode of doing a ranking.
Oh, I have mine ready to go.
Oh, you have ready to go.
I came in ready to go.
You came ready. Okay, cool. So we'll actually go through.
Not only do I have that, I also have box offices for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of his films in case we want to guess and play to see.
Oh, I want to play that game because which I might actually know them better than the last time we played that game. But I want to know which one. I can't imagine you have many more movies than above Oppenheimer.
Yeah,
of
well,
no
we'll get
less.
to that. So
Okay.
let's
I think
start with
I
you.
personally think it's his film. At the very least, I think it's the most well-paced 3-hour movie I've ever seen. It did not feel like a 3-hour movie. I've seen 3-hour movies I've enjoyed that feel like 3-hour movies. Avengers Endgame, I love Marvel movies pre-Endgame for the most part. And I love Endgame because of the culmination of everything, but it does feel like a 3-hour movie, and it feels like a very strategic 3-act play of the first hour, the second hour, and the third hour. This movie, it starts fast and it just moves all the way
Yeah,
through.
yeah, I agree with that. It was engaging start to finish.
Definitely.
Um, Something I learned after the fact is that Christopher Nolan wrote it in the first person, which, if you know anything about screenwriting, is
Oh,
wild. So he
that's
wrote it from
crazy
the
to do.
perspective of Oppenheimer, which I'd love to get my hands on. That I've heard it's impossible to, because he usually doesn't release his screenplays. But I'd
Oh yeah,
love to
no.
read it because, especially all the scenes that he's not in with Strother and like those individuals, it I would, or is it whatever.
Strauss? I think it was
Yeah,
Strauss.
it was Robert Downey Jr.'s character.
Yes.
Just all of the scenes. But yeah, I he is immaculate at creating scenes to the technical details. His knowledge of the fundamentals. Let's compare this to basketball, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there are some directors who are very flashy and they know visuals and they like are very like the Zack Snyders of the world, right? Who you could compare to athletes that are just very athletic. They have freak bodies. They are able to jump higher. They're able to throw farther. They're it's not necessarily they know the game better, but they just have some innate ability. I'm not saying Zack Snyder is amazing, but I'm saying like his style is iconic and unique. Like what
You
he
know a
does is
Zack
very
Snyder film
when you
without
see it.
needing to see
Exactly.
Zack Snyder's stuff.
But you don't watch a Zack Snyder film and feel like, wow, this man knows cinema inside and out. He is a true auteur with knowledge that like comes
Absolutely.
from the beginning of film to the end. When you watch a Christopher Nolan movie, you leave the experience loving film as a whole. And I think that's what this did is it reminded you the beauty of what film can be. Because so rarely do we get movies that enable the art form to its peak, right? Practical effects, snappy dialogue, perfect acting, editing, which, yes, I know there's an editor, but the director has their fingerprints all over it,
Yeah.
especially when it's Christopher Nolan. So the pacing, which is exactly what you talked about, 3 hours is a daunting timeline in this day and age when people have the
And for a
shortest attention span.
biopic,
For a biopic, like it takes it from being a drama to an epic, right? You think of like old school movies like Ben-Hur, Gone with the Wind, things like that, where they were 3 hours or longer in these massive films, and those were called epics. They were their own genre. They were past just being a biopic or a drama. And that's what I feel like this is. It's an epic where it takes such a massive scale, even though it's about one man and the impact, like just the world and everything. And at no point do you lose it. At no point you're like, well, this story isn't interesting, or this side, like this side story or this thing. Like at no point. It carries through perfectly. It's so well paced, and he knows exactly when to end each story to get the next one moving without dragging, without losing. And even if you don't know science, even if you don't know history, you're intrigued by this movie. Like I don't feel like, oh, you have to be a specific audience to enjoy this. I think anybody who likes movies will enjoy this film.
Yeah, it's really hard not to. Honest, and I was trying to think of what would be a weak point in this movie. Like what's the weakness that the movie has, and the easy part would be the runtime. That didn't feel like one. Any of the performances from the supporting cast, none of those. Even
you know who caught me off guard, like in a positive way?
Emily Blunt,
Josh Hartnett.
That was surprising how big a role he had.
Not only how big of a role, he carried it so well, though. Like joking friend who had concerns underneath, and I forgot he was in it. And I was watching it, and at a point, I turned to my wife and I was like, "Who is that actor? I know I recognize him, but I can't put my finger on it." So of course we look it up afterwards, and I was like, "Oh, that makes sense. Of course,
It reminded me of my favorite film of his, Lucky Number 11.
I love that movie.
That is one of my favorite movies that
Underrated.
No one's seen. Oh,
it's so underrated.
I believe that is one of the most, if if not the most underrated film, especially with the cast that it has.
It's a very Tarantino-esque film.
Yes.
And it's Bruce Willis playing at his peak. You don't get
Yeah.
like Bruce Willis, I know he doesn't act anymore for good reason, but like in his prime wasn't always utilized the best. He was used more for his name than his acting abilities. In this one, they put everything in front of him. But let's get back to Oppenheimer. You're right. I agree. His performance was reminiscent of like that, of the slyness, the charisma. He nailed that. And the other thing is how many small roles massive actors had.
Rami
Casey
Malek.
Affleck, yeah, Rami Malek, Casey Affleck, Josh Peck, who I'm not gonna say is a massive actor, but again, still that like was snuck in there. Like
Jack Quaid.
Yeah, Jack Quaid. Like what's his Nolan used him in Dark Knight as well.
I know. He was
David Dalmachian.
Dalmachian.
Yeah, something.
Dane DeHaan.
Dane DeHaan.
Totally forgot he was in that movie until I saw Dane DeHaan in there.
David Dastmalchian or Malkian. I apologize.
I believe it's Dalmachian.
Thank you. But yeah, great actor as well. But everyone had these tiny roles, and the thing is, he's similar to Wes Anderson, and I want to get into this in a bit. We'll talk a little bit more about the film, but then I want to talk about Nolan and what makes him different, and in this day and age, what that means. Everyone played their part perfectly, and I think people are willing to take small parts because it's Nolan. Like you heard the story of Matt Damon being like, well, I was going to take an acting break unless Christopher Nolan called me. And of course he does, and he did a great job at this and played that role perfectly. And it's like he asks everyone just enough of like putting them out there to make it worthwhile, even if they only have 2 minutes of screen time.
Absolutely.
And they all got it and they made the most of it. And then of course you have Cillian Murphy, who let's take a minute to appreciate what he brought to the table.
And and everyone was hyping him up before the film even came out. Like Robert Downey Jr. saying it was the best performance he's ever seen, and it showed.
Yeah,
and it was great for Cillian Murphy to find he's gotten some recognition, but this is him getting like true recognition for just the amazing actor he is. Starting, in the U.S., starting back from with 28 Days Later is when most people really started to notice him, and then Dark Knight.
Don't forget he was nominated for an Oscar for Breakfast on Pluto. People forget that he's been, he's been around, and I think something that people take for granted is he has a very unique look in a positive way. Like he looks like a model in a sense of like the sharp cheekbones, the eyes, like everything. Like he looks like a model, and I think that almost is a deterrent for some people because like he's so unique looking in a positive way that it like if he doesn't fit that role, like that's why Scarecrow and Batman Begins and like the little roles he has afterwards was so perfect because like he felt like that astute psychologist who's gone off the deep end, like, oh yeah, all of this stuff makes sense. But yeah, his acting ability, top notch, along with everybody else.
I guess if I could think of one negative, and this is really grasping at straws, would be at the big climax at the end with Strauss realizing what's happening, which is a fantastic monologue. Like,
you think that's the climax?
No, but it's a climactic event.
It's a climactic moment. I'd say the Trinity test is the climax.
That would be the climax, but the climax, at least in terms of that storyline with Strauss.
Yes, in terms of that storyline.
Yeah, that entire monologue, which is just so gripping. And and this is at no fault of Robert Downey Jr., but for all the years of him playing Tony Stark in Iron Man and people just connecting Tony Stark to Robert Downey Jr., you could see mannerisms that RDJ would use as an actor just in a role that you do remember seeing of Tony Stark. And for split seconds, it took me out of it. Just like I could see Tony Stark a little bit, but that's also because he became so synonymous with Tony Stark. So it's no fault of his own. So that would be the worst thing about it. It's
if you had not seen Marvel, you would not know that for this.
Not at all. So it's just that he became such a big name actor.
Yeah.
That kind of fault. But yeah, that would be the one thing. So what did you think of the film?
Here's what I want to do. First, I'm gonna talk a little bit more about Nolan and cinema in general and try to keep that brief. Okay. Then I want us to give final reviews. Okay. And then we'll do a little bit of ranking, and if we have extra time, we'll do some box office.
Okay.
So I was thinking about this recently. How many directors can you hear have a movie coming out and you don't need to know anything about the movie to want to go see it.
Would be Nolan.
Nolan.
I would say Spielberg.
Okay.
Not me personally, but Wes Anderson.
I put them in the same category for different reasons, but I agree. I
Yes,
100% agree.
I am not a fan of Wes Anderson films.
Well, you and I differ there, but we'll get into
Yeah,
that.
and that's fine. I'm not saying they're bad
Did
films.
you see Asteroid City?
No, I haven't seen half
Good
of Wes
movie.
Anderson's
Good
films.
movie.
You're gonna hate this, Jay. I get bored to tears in Wes Anderson films.
I can understand that. Did you ever see Grand Budapest Hotel?
I did. That's one of the ones I got bored to tears in.
Okay, I think that's one of his best. So,
and like I said, they're just not for me.
They're not for everyone. They're very particular. But so I agree. He's in that vein, and I would say realistically for me, there's three, and people are going to disagree with this, and that's okay. Christopher Nolan, of course. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter what it was. Tenet, this, Interstellar. I don't need to know who's in it. I don't need to know the plot. And in fact, I try my best not to watch trailers when his movies come out. I try not to do it because I want to be in the experience. Like, I do that. Jordan Peele. He has earned the right now and same thing. I don't want to know what the movie's about. I know that it's going to be a film cinematic experience.
It's going to be a horror movie.
I know it's going to be a horror movie, but I know I'm going to enjoy it. Yep. And I know that even if it's not amazing, it's going to be unique and it's going to make me think. So I put him in that category. I put Wes Anderson in that category because regardless of who's in the movie, same thing. He gets the same thing that Christopher Nolan does, which is a huge cast of people want to perform with him because he's an artist. And I totally understand. He's not everyone's cup of tea. Helene doesn't like him as much as I do. I just think he has such an iconic look, talking about where you can look at one frame and know who the director is.
Absolutely.
And his style of storytelling, there is no one else who does what he does. And some people complain, it's like, oh, he does the same thing every time. I'm like, yeah, but he does it perfectly. No one else can do it. So I put those three. I think Spielberg I love, but recently I'm not going to see every movie he makes. I think he's made some amazing movies recently still, but I don't think every movie is a must-see no matter what. Same with Scorsese. I think he's no one's like taking anything against that. They're both two of the greatest directors of all time. That's not what I'm saying. Yeah. I'm saying in 2023, if a movie comes out by them, do I not have to see a trailer? Do I not have to know what it's about or see who's in it to go see it? I do. Do Killers of the Flower Moon look amazing, or does it look amazing? Yes, and I'm going to go see that. But I needed to see like the trailer. I needed to hear what was going on with it before I agreed. Like The Irishman was good, but that felt like a 3-hour movie.
That it definitely felt like a 3-hour movie.
So that's what I think makes Nolan so special is his ability to take any. I mean, he certainly has themes. Every director has themes, ideas. Time is in almost every one of his movies. Perception or point of view is a big thing. You look at Dunkirk, you look at The Prestige, you look at even in the Batman films when they talk about like Joker versus Batman's perspectives, like he's very big into how do you view it. And of course, same thing in this movie when you look at Strauss versus Oppenheimer, and they're like, what was he talking about with Einstein? It's like the perspective and perception of how each person views something is a massive theme he does, as well as blurring the line between good and evil, or like right and wrong, was depending on like the side of history you're on.
Yeah.
And so every director has themes or ideas that they use a lot. Those are his big ones. Time is usually the number one, which is why he doesn't do movies in chronological order a lot. Like he likes messing with chronology. It's a huge thing of his, which again, I think is great. I respect it. He knows what he wants. Sometimes you get movies like Tenet that are just a little bit too much, but you got to go big to get movie. If you don't get that, you don't get this, right? Like you don't get Oppenheimer without Tenet. I'm not saying that they're tied together, but he learns from each film to make something new. Also his dedication to science for a director who never studied, to the best of my knowledge, like quantum mechanics, astrophysics, like he gets so many experts on everything to make sure that it's matching up to the best of science knowledge. And I love that. And the fact that he does everything practically, like he made a bomb, like he made a bomb to explode.
He made like, I wonder if it's going to be on the level of Cannibal Holocaust, of people wondering, it's like, did he create a nuclear weapon and set off a nuclear weapon in the desert? Because like that explosion was intense. And
It's real. I love it. I
in
love
terms
it.
of like staying true to the science, the audio of how much delay there is between
Yeah.
hearing it after the explosion
Helene turned
happens.
to me and she goes, "Was there an explosion?" I was like, "It's coming.
It's coming. It's on its way. And
It's
he
on
sets
its
you
way."
up for it
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
smaller tests of how there's a delay on those smaller explosions. So
yeah.
you should know that's like it's coming.
So fantastic. Okay, so that's what I think separates him and makes him so unique. It is that understanding and dedication to the craft, and watching him grow from smaller films like Memento, and then saying, "All right, well, I'm going to try a superhero film. I'm doing it in my way." To this has been extraordinary, and I'm a Nolanite. I love everything he does. I will see every movie he does. I had Oppenheimer circled for a long time, so
Yeah.
we saw it in IMAX. Like we didn't. We were like,
That
we're
is,
watching
I
it, we're
wish
gonna do
we'd
it the
seen it
right
in
way.
IMAX.
It was glorious.
Okay, so Jay, do you want me to give my score first?
Give your score.
All right, we're doing point scale or letter grade?
I think in the past we've done points, and I believe we've done the 20-point system.
Yes.
So let's stick with that.
All right, I'm going to go 10 out of 10, 10 being a masterpiece, not a perfect movie.
Okay. And I'm going 9 out of 10, which is also, for me, a masterpiece. 10 out of 10 is perfection. As you know, very few films have ever gotten perfection. Godfathers 1 and 2 are on there.
You have high standards for your perfect tens.
I do.
I do not.
and yet, as we lead into our rankings,
okay,
something you might find interesting. There is a 10. There is a 10.
Can I guess?
You can. I think you'll probably get it.
I don't know. Actually, I'm not sure if I will, because I have the list in front of me.
I think you'll get 1. I don't think you're gonna get.
There's 2 10s.
No, I just mean my order of numbers.
Oh, your order. No,
I think you'll get number 1. I think you'll get number 1. I don't know if you'll get like 2, 3, 4, 5.
I don't know if I'm gonna get number 1. I honestly don't.
Counter 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, what's your answer?
Okay, it's between 2.
You got to pick one.
Okay.
There's no. We're
Inception.
not hedging bets here. Number 1 with a 10 out of 10 is The Dark Knight.
Really? I was not gonna guess any of the Batman films.
And here's why. You want to talk about perfection. There is not a scene in that movie you could change. I will argue it is the most rewatchable superhero film that has ever been created.
Oh, absolutely.
I think it is not only the greatest superhero film ever created, and I know this may ruffle some feathers, but I look at that movie and there isn't anything legitimately that I think you alter. I think it's start to finish, the music, the acting, the explosions, the story, like the
performances, the first comic book film to have an Oscar win for acting.
Yes, and you look at that and like rewatching it now, seeing where superhero films have gone, it's tough to think that movie was made 15 years ago. Like,
and everyone's trying to chase it.
And it's never been surpassed. It's never been beaten. It's my number 1, not only for what it is, but for what it did for film, for superhero movies, for action movies. I think it has to be one of the most influential films of all time, simply for what it did. Heath Ledger's Joker, let's be real, is one of probably the top 3 greatest villains of all time.
Yep.
And you know, it's so funny. I said I wouldn't change anything. I wouldn't, but like, Christian Bale is not a top Batman. Like, he isn't. He's fine. But that movie isn't amazing because of him or in spite of him. He's just like, he does what he's supposed to do, but it is as a result of the movie as a whole, which is what you give Nolan credit for.
Yeah.
The best. So going from there, I will say I have not seen Following or Insomnia, so I don't think it's fair to grade those.
That's fine. Insomnia is good, but I would put it at the lower. I would put it at the lower end of his films.
I've seen it, but yeah. So
okay.
I
just want to say, if I thought the Batman movies would be on there, my answer would have been Dark Knight, just because.
And so here's where I go.
Okay.
I go number 1, The Dark Knight. I just think it's unbeaten. Number 2, I actually go Dunkirk. I think
Really?
Dunkirk doesn't get enough respect. I think Dunkirk, watching that movie, I was so tense and I was so uncomfortable for the war and the visuals, the acting, the feel of desperation, just the whole war movie. It felt like Saving Private Ryan in terms of like the overall feel of how horrid war is. And
Yeah.
it's not just like a pro, like, we're gonna win and all this
Well, I
stuff.
mean, that
Like,
was a passion project of his because he wanted to
yeah.
tell that story as a.
And I think it came through. So that I go 1, 2 there. My
Okay.
number 3 is Inception, and I will say, sorry, my number 3 is Oppenheimer, is what I meant to say. Number
Oppenheimer.
3 is Oppenheimer. Number 4 is Inception. All of those are nines. Those three. So again, I'm taking this guy who I think. How many directors do I honestly believe have made, in my rankings, at least 4 movies that are 9 or higher? There can't be more. There can't be more than 6, like realistically. And then after that, for me, I go Prestige.
Prestige. I was gonna say I was hoping Prestige was next because
Prestige is next, and I think
Prestige.
that's an 8.5. Memento. After that, also an 8.5.
Mm-hmm.
After that is where it starts to get a little bit tricky. I think I probably go Batman Begins, Interstellar, Dark Knight Rises, and then I think the only thing left is Tenet, which I do put at the bottom. And again, Tenet, I think I gave a 7. The worst ranked movie I've given Nolan is a 7.
And that is the most trippy mind fuck of a movie
and
he's created. And this is coming from the guy who did Inception,
Yeah,
which
like-
the concept like this might as well just be a sequel to Inception in terms of just.
I thought Tenet's story was a hot mess, but part of the cinematic experience is how it looks. And visually, that movie was stunning. Like how he put it together and just the backwards and forwards. And it's like, it was like, that's what the Transformers movies should be. Not like in
Yes.
terms of story, but in terms of the experience of watching
The
a
spectacle.
film. The spectacle, thank you. It's like, that's what these movies that just get blown out and just like churned that are usually a mess, like, that's what they should aspire to be. If you're going to make a story that has no sense and like you don't really ever get attached to the characters, you don't really care that much, make that type of movie where you are blown away by what you've seen, because that will stay with you even if the story doesn't.
Yeah. The rockets fired at the one building that they then show in reverse. And it's just like, it's seamless. And it's all practical effects. Like,
Everything's it
blows my mind.
So yeah, exactly. And the cars, like when one's going backwards and all the rest are going forwards, and they had a stunt driver do it all, and like I was like, oh yeah.
Now, one could say that Inception, in terms of the script and story itself being a hot mess, it's kind of, there's a lot of disjointed parts that.
So there's a reason Inception is not in my top 3,
and
it's for that, which is that movie is amazing when you watch it the first time. When you watch it, and
when you have to think about it.
Well, but then it's afterwards when you start working through. You're like, wait a minute, what? Some plot holes start to appear and they get bigger. In the moment, that movie comes out and you're like, this is a fucking 8. And then, or a 9, or like, and then the longer you dive into it, but again, visually it's amazing. So, which again, I give a lot of credit for. Like, the experience of seeing the movie matters. So, do you have a ranking ready to go or no?
No, let's do it live.
All right, do it live, and then to wrap it up, I'll do some quizzes on box office.
That's perfect. That's what I miss the most of our podcast. It's like seeing because I actually I'm a numbers guy, obviously, because both our loves of fantasy football, and I just love statistics in general. So I usually follow box office numbers. Yeah. But apparently my memory is not good for that because I did not remember any numbers. With this, I might. All right, so I have a list right here of all 12 Nolan movies ranked. That's someone else's ranking, but I'll just go with these ones right here. So I would have to say Dark Knight, number 1. Hands down.
So that's a 10 out of 10 because already we know that Oppenheimer is a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, so that would also be a 10 out of 10 for me. I would put Oppenheimer right underneath it.
Okay.
And only because I love going back to rewatch The Dark Knight. I'm not sure if I can go back to rewatch Oppenheimer. If we want to talk about just, nuclear war is fucking the
Why not?
scariest
Let's
thing
just
in the
talk
world.
about it.
And
Yeah.
then you find out that, oh, by the way, when they were testing the atom bomb, oh, we could have just destroyed the entire Earth just in testing it, just to try to
Yeah.
get it
Just to
going.
get there.
And now,
Quick interlude. This was a discussion I had with somebody at work. Oppenheimer was not meant to be rewatched. Dark Knight was. And I think you have to look, there's certain movies that are intended to be rewatched, and you have to take that into account. Like Hereditary is an amazing, stunning film, not intended to be rewatched. It's too haunting. Uncut Gems, fantastic movie, not intended to be rewatched.
no.
Dark Knight, in maybe the most intentionally made to be rewatched film. I think every single time I've seen it playing on TNT or whatever channel it's on, I stop and I watch it for at least 10 minutes to see A, is it the opening scene with the bank robbery? B, am I about to see the truck get flipped over? Am I about to see Joker fight the mob? Is he about to do where he breaks the stick? Am I about to see Batman have to go like save either Harvey Dent or the love of his life? And there's so many little scenes that are rewatchable, even if you don't watch the whole movie. Sorry, but it's a huge topic of rewatchability because like movies like Top Gun Maverick, which was a great movie, very much made to be rewatched. Oppenheimer, not made to be rewatched.
Yep, that makes perfect sense.
Sorry, continue.
Okay, so we're Oppenheimer number 2.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3, Inception.
Okay.
I love Inception. I love rewatching Inception, even despite all the this. Now this makes sense. Also, can we just talk about how around Oppenheimer's release, I saw a lot of articles of interviews with Nolan where he said he finally puts to rest the whole spinning top thing, and apparently him putting to rest is him saying it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but
no, it doesn't matter. But just the clickbaitiness of like, oh, he answers the question.
That's been the whole thing the entire time, and that's why I hate when people ask that because the whole intention of the movie is that it was real for him, and it's like, of course, that's what matters. When people are asking, it's like, why do you care? Like for him, it was. That's the entire intention.
I will go by my favorite answer, which is Michael Caine's answer of course it bloody fell. So I'm like, I just go with Michael Caine's answer. That
who for some reason was not in Oppenheimer.
And there are Brits he could have played. It might be because of his age. He's
Could be. Gary Oldman was in it. Talking about small roles who popped in. Gary Oldman as President Truman.
Oh, that's right. Oh my God, that
was fantastic. He was on screen again for like 2 minutes, but he was great. And it's like those are the type of people you get when you're Nolan. Okay, sorry.
Yeah. Next, The Prestige.
Mm-hmm.
I love The Prestige. I still haven't seen The Illusionist.
Good
the
movie.
Comparable movie that that whole like deep impact.
I actually saw The Illusionist before I saw The Prestige. I saw The Illusionist in theaters. I didn't see The Prestige till it came out afterwards, but loved The Prestige better than The Illusionist. But The Illusionist, not a bad movie at all. Very enjoyable. Okay. Solid. I recommend it. Yeah.
Next, I'm going to say Tenet. And the big thing for me in watching Tenet is I just love John David Washington, and we'll see him in anything. And so part of me wanting going back to rewatch Tenet.
You putting Tenet above Dunkirk and Memento is a slap in the face.
Hold on. Sorry.
That is a slap in
Okay, this would help if I had the full list in front of me. I didn't have Memento in front of me.
How do you not have the entire list in front of you? It's on Wikipedia. All you have to do is look up Christopher Nolan.
I know. I have a list in front of me that has, but it's only showing like 10 of the movies.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because it's the only way I can get it all on the same page. Sorry,
it's not like
Memento.
That movie was revolutionary or anything.
Yeah, Memento. But I would put Tenet above Dunkirk and Interstellar.
You're wrong, but that's okay.
That's fine. I enjoy watching Tenet. Dunkirk. Actually, you're gonna think I'm crazy. The Dark Knight Rises would go after, not Memento, after Tenet.
So are you putting Dark Knight Rises above Batman Begins?
Yes.
Interesting.
Batman Begins, and actually
individually, I don't hate as much. I don't agree with it, but I don't hate it. I still think Dunkirk is
Batman Begins only because of they had to give it a comic booky ending. It's the most comic booky of the Nolan trilogy for them, and I did not hate Dark Knight Rises as much as most people do.
I don't think it's bad. I just don't think it's Dunkirk.
I like Dunkirk. I do not remember anything that happens. It's one of the least memorable Nolan movies for me.
Okay,
And I don't want to say that.
That's fine. And so then it goes Dark Knight Rises, Batman Begins, Insomnia. Oh, sorry, Dunkirk, Insomnia.
It would go Insomnia next.
You're putting Dunkirk beneath Insomnia?
I'm putting Dunkirk
Jesus.
beneath Insomnia.
Wow.
And then Interstellar is at the bottom for me.
Yeah, see, I thought Interstellar was better than Tenet. Just story wise, it was significantly superior. But okay, we have that.
Yeah,
we have
but
that.
and that's say, Interstellar. I would give that a 7.5. Like, I would not rate
Again,
that
there's still not a bad movie.
Yeah, it's and it to me it's just personally just what I enjoyed watching at the moment, what I would want to go back and rewatch in some cases, and that's just me. Like, this is like the ultimate gut check on these films.
Yeah, and the beautiful thing about movies is that it's such a shared experience and it's so unique, like, and personal to each individual, that I love talking about that stuff, because it is beautiful to hear what works for some people and not for others.
Yeah. And we can all just agree that Nolan makes great films.
Again, and he is an iconic director who will be talked about decades after.
And I will say, like, now, like, seeing everything in front of me, so it really is some of his best work are the really experimental ones, which is like The Prestige with the twist, Inception with the concept, Interstellar with just like the time concept there, Tenet, like, which as much as it gets wrong, like, the concept is really cool. So I love the concepts for a lot of his stuff. So but when he doesn't need to worry about a concept is when he really is able to show off how good he is, which is why I'm excited that he said, like, he would feel honored to direct a Bond movie. So if the owners of Bond have any sense in them, they will give him the first Bond movie with the new actor.
Carte blanche.
Yeah.
So,
and that will be able for him to fund his next 5 passion projects he wants to make.
Exactly. So let's go to
little box office.
Let's do a little box office. So
okay, I don't have the list in front of me. So I'm going to tell
you what I have. Well, I'm going to tell you what I have open.
Okay.
Just that you have like a jumping off point.
Okay.
So I have Batman Begins, Dark Knight Rises, Inception, Interstellar, Dunkirk, Oppenheimer, and Tenet, just because I felt like I had to have Tenet, even though it got messed up completely by
I was about to say, is that even going to work?
It does a little bit. So I'm going to start off by asking, which movie do you believe had the highest international, or not just international, but worldwide, sorry. So I wanted to include international. What movie is his highest international grossing film, not accounting for inflation?
And this is just international, not domestic.
This is total. No, I'm saying worldwide.
Worldwide. Okay, worldwide gross.
Worldwide gross,
not accounting for inflation.
Total gross.
Okay. Which movies do you have in front of you again? I just want to make sure I have the same list. Is it just pretty much everything from 2006 on?
It's Batman Begins on.
Okay.
Spoiler. Memento was not his highest grossing international.
Okay, let me talk through the process. The gut check answer would be The Dark Knight, because because of just how much of a cultural phenomenon it was. But the thing was, that was before comic book movies were really making a lot of money. And it had good word of mouth, but it was more like how good it was. So part of me wants to say The Dark Knight Rises, because it's the sequel to The Dark Knight. And regardless of how much of a drop-off it probably had opening weekend, it probably did gangbusters by pure virtue of being the sequel to Dark Knight. So I'm going to go with The Dark Knight Rises.
And sir, you would be correct.
Yes.
The Dark Knight Rises made $1.081 billion with a B. With a B worldwide. Now, the nice thing is I haven't told you anything about domestic or international, so we can still play this game a little bit. But yes, The Dark Knight Rises is the highest grossing film worldwide Christopher Nolan has done. So we're going to do some fun stuff real fast. Would you like to guess I know you would like to guess. Well, we're gonna let's do this let's do this lightning round. So we're gonna do the Batman movies first.
Okay.
Okay. Batman Begins domestic. So this is U.S. only. Batman Begins domestic total box office.
Total box.
And I'm gonna give you plus or minus $15 million.
Okay.
Is a little bit like. So that's 30 total because you could be up or down.
Okay. Can I also guess opening
each
weekend? Do you have those numbers in front of you?
I do have opening weekend.
I think I know the opening weekend for this.
Okay, what was opening weekend?
I believe it was in the 50s.
48.
Huh?
48.
48. Okay. Okay.
But so what was the total domestic gross?
Total domestic gross. I'm gonna go with 252.
206.
206. Okay. Wow.
With an international of 166, totaling 373. It's actually one of his lowest. So interesting fact. Tenet was weird, anyways. Tenet made only $8 million fewer worldwide than Batman Begins.
Wow.
That just tells you how the international market for Tenet, because domestically it didn't really do much, 58, but internationally made over $300 million. So still wasn't a flop.
And I think also because HBO Max was not available, or HBO Plus, whatever it was not available overseas at the time. So everyone
the people had to go watch it. Yeah. Okay. This is gonna be interesting. Okay. So we have Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises. I know I'm not going chronological, but Christopher Nolan wouldn't want us to go that way anyways. He doesn't believe in following a timeline. So let's do Dark Knight. I'm gonna ask you to do back to back. So I'm gonna ask you to do Dark Knight domestic, and before I tell you that one, I want you to also guess Dark Knight Rises.
Okay. I already have my numbers set.
Do it. Hit me.
84, 125.
Are we doing opening weekend first?
Opening weekend first.
Okay, so you're saying Dark Knight opening weekend is 84, and you're saying Dark Knight Rises opening is
not that high. I would say let's go 105 for Dark Knight Rises.
So 84 and 105.
Yes.
Okay. Dark Knight opening weekend 158 million.
150. I was way off.
They basically made back their entire budget for the movie opening weekend. Dark Knight Rises opening 160.
Yeah, I was about to say I would increase the number from there. So
by 2 million, which is
man, I did not remember Dark Knight making that much.
Domestic,
I thought it was more after everyone saw it. That's when it really.
Yeah, no, Dark Knight blew up. People knew because even the trailer for it was amazing. Domestic total.
Well, it has to be less than 1.08 billion. We know that.
Well, yes. You know that it's less than that.
All right. First off, I'm going to say, before I get to the exact numbers, I'm going to say, as a flat line, that Dark Knight made more in its run than Dark Knight Rises.
Domestically, it did. That is correct.
Domestically, it did. I'm going to say Dark Knight, through its whole run, made, let's say, 380, and Dark Knight Rises made 310.
Dark Knight made $533 million domestically.
I wanted to say 5 first, and I lowered it.
How crazy is that? Dark Knight Rises, $448 million domestically. Okay. Nearly $100 million less domestically, and yet made almost $78 million more total worldwide. So that means international overshot it by about $178 million. Dark Knight Rises international, $632 million. Wow.
And that's okay. And people wonder why people try to focus on international more.
Let's do. We're gonna do the I movies, keeping in theme over here.
Okay.
Inception and Interstellar, as just a reminder for years. Interstellar came out in
2014.
2014. Inception came out in 2010. So let's do Inception. Do you want to do opening weekend then total?
Inception, let's go 70 million opening weekend. 340 for the run.
Okay. Opening weekend. Pretty damn close. $62 million opening. So we'll give you that one.
Okay.
That's a win.
Whole run, nowhere close.
Domestically, $292 million.
Okay.
But worldwide, $825 million.
Yeah, oh my God.
Yeah, his movies do really well internationally, which is not an easy feat. Interstellar. So, okay, here's what I will say. Interstellar did not make as much either worldwide or domestically as Inception.
Okay.
Just to give you a
Yep.
jumping
No,
off
I
point.
had a feeling it wasn't, even though it's later, but it was a little more esoteric, we would say. Let's say 62 million opening weekend. 290. 240 for the whole run.
Bro, I just told you this movie made less. You just guessed the exact same domestic opening as the last movie. No,
Oh, did I?
That was yeah.
Oh shit!
The last
Oh
one
no!
was
Hold on!
62.
Hold on!
You just guessed the same.
I gotta
thing.
write these numbers down in front of me
You just
because I'm
dropped-
thinking like
you dropped domestic by about 30 million, which is fair if you want to go that way. But you kept the exact same opening weekend, which is hilarious.
Interstellar, was that bad? I'm gonna say 54 then.
Okay, it's skewed because you already did the first one. Opening weekend was 47. Total was 188.
Damn,
domestically,
but didn't do anything.
But 70 didn't do anything except 188 million dollars domestically. 773 worldwide. So
well, yeah, I mean,
yeah,
but especially
let's round it out. Let's round it out.
Okay. Okay.
Here's an interesting question. Which one worldwide, not domestic, worldwide? Oppenheimer is not finished its run.
Correct.
Obviously, it's still in theaters. What has made more money? Dunkirk, which has finished its run, or Oppenheimer, which is R-rated. Dunkirk was PG-13, and Oppenheimer's still in theaters. Which way are you gonna go?
Oppenheimer.
Oppenheimer worldwide right now is 552. Dunkirk total worldwide 525.
And I only say that because of war movies do not do well. Do not necessarily do as well internationally because of certain countries.
You know what? Interestingly enough, Dunkirk opening weekend, $50 million. Not bad for a war movie. Budget was $100 million, so you double that because usually marketing is the same budget. Still worldwide, $525 million. Still made $300 million.
Yeah.
I don't know budget for Oppenheimer. I'm sure it's over $100 million.
Just the cast alone.
Yeah. But yeah, domestic Oppenheimer right now, $228 million. Opening weekend, $82 million. One of the highest R-rated opening weekends of all time.
And that is going up against the juggernaut that is Barbie.
You say up against, I say supported by, but that's a discussion for another time because this weekend I will be seeing Barbie. I don't know if you've seen it yet.
I have not, but I hope to see it soon.
So maybe after you see it and after I see it, we can return with our next episode focused on Barbie. Which, seems fitting to follow Oppenheimer with Barbie.
You mean not the new TMNT movie? It's actually getting super great. It's the highest rated Turtles movie.
Yeah,
by a wide margin.
I'm sure it's an enjoyable movie. I think Barbie is actually going to impress me. I think I'm going to really like it.
Yeah. I
like Greta Gerwig. I like what she's done. I don't put her in the iconic, oh my God, I have to see what she's made. She hasn't reached that. And she, we'll see. I don't think she's at the Jordan Peele level of every movie, even if I don't love it, makes me think and sit and dwell and makes me want to go see their movies. But we'll see after Barbie how I feel.
Yeah. All right. Sounds good. So we'll be back with that episode, and maybe we'll get back into a weekly or maybe bi-weekly cadence.
Some sort. We'll figure it out.
When we have time. Yeah. Time is what is time?
A precious commodity that Nolan cares nothing about.
Nothing at
all. Or
all.
cares way too much about messing with. Either he doesn't give two shits, or he cares way too much about making sure it's
He cares so little about it, he tries to fuck with it on a grand scale.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for listening, and if you're watching, thank you for sitting through this entire episode. I'm Fish.
I'm Jay.
We'll see y'all next time, everybody.